What's up guys, Cass here from GiveWave Studios, and today I'm going to show you how to put together your DIY kit for the arrows for Breath of the Wild. And I'm just going to go through the process of how to put everything together and prep it, so let's get into it. First off, we're going to start with the feathers themselves. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab a nice sharp blade, and you're just going to go down and add a couple of extra lines to the pre-existing laser etched parts. So just random, some short, some long. And what we're going to do is heat this up with the our heat gun or hair dryer, whatever you have laying around, and then the foam's going to expand and kind of give a little bit more texture to the feather. If you look, it's nothing too serious. I just added a couple of extra lines to it, just basically following the general direction of the pre-etched stuff. You can make some short, some long, and just kind of play around with it. So now I'm going to grab my heat gun and start heating this stuff up. And you're going to notice that these lines just kind of start opening up a little bit. And just add a little bit of dimension to the pre-existing laser etch stuff. And the deeper you do these cuts, the more prominent your detail is going to be. Just be careful not to cut all the way through the foam. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So that's the difference between your flat one that you get and now the one that you've added a couple of extra detail to. Alright, so I'm going to fast forward through this whole thing. Alright, so I have all my feathers all done up. Now I'm just going to grab my rod, and this is a 3/8 inch rod that you can grab at Home Depot or Lowe's. That's what you're going to use for the stem, because the DIY kit does not come with these. So we'll put the rod and the feathers aside for now, because we'll be gluing it to the stick all the way at the end after everything is done and painted. Now next thing you're going to do is grab your 3D printed parts. Most of the times these are going to come in kind of like a metallic filament. Sometimes they won't. So in the case that they don't, you really do want to cover them with paint and paint them the color that you want to. So what we're going to do is just grab one of them. I'm going to grab my rod and stick it on there and just kind of sand this down a little bit. I like sanding it before I even put primer on it to get rid of the what are called striation marks, which is like the little ridgy things that you can hear me here. I'm just gonna sand this nice and smooth. I'm gonna fast forward through the process and then show you guys the finished product. Alright, you might not be able to tell right now, but these are really pretty much nice and smooth, and by the time I put some primer on it, give it another round of sanding, and then I'll actually paint it like a nice metallic finish for the parts. So these are prepped, and we're gonna work on the arrow tips a little bit. All right, so for the arrow tip, all you're gonna do is grab your stem. You're gonna bring it right about where the curve starts to form, right here, okay? And you're just going to place that down, and you're going to mark that with a pen or a Sharpie, something. Right, and you're going to give yourself enough room so that there's space for the stem to slide into. You're going to do the same thing to this side. Alright, and once you have these two like this, you're going to heat them up to seal them. And then you're going to put some glue on the parts not where the stem is. Alright, so I'm going to go through that process and put it together and show you guys how it's done. Alright, now that we have our two parts, right, we're going to glue these together, and we're going to try to keep the seam as clean as possible. So just having the edges touch on the outside like so. And like so. Now you have your two parts glued together. What you're going to do is grab your pen and just kind of stick that in between this space that you left here. And you're gonna start creating the wedge for your stick to go into. So bring that in there, just kind of pull back and forth, kind of open it up a little bit to make room for your stick to come in. And then once it's wide enough, you can just bring in your stick, slide that right in there. All right, and if you did it nice and straight, you should have a perfectly good arrowhead. Right? And then to give this even extra details, you can go in and kind of bevel the edges there and kind of bring them to a point. We're gonna do that next with the Dremel tool. All right, now as you can tell, kind of beveled the edge, so we have a better looking arrow tip now. So that looks a little bit more believable. All right? And you can go ahead and scuff this up and do a couple of nicks and scratches on it if you'd like. The same way we did the effect on this, you can go ahead and add some nicks and bruises to your arrow tip. But right now, we're just gonna get ready for paint. So I'm gonna take these in, I'm gonna plasti dip the foam parts, and I'm going to do a coat of sander primer on the 3D parts and do one more sanding, and then we can get to painting. All right, so we're in the paint booth now. So for the feathers, we're going to use some plasti dip, and then for the 3D printed parts, we're going to use some 2-in-1 filler primer. All right. For the plasti dip, I'm just going to do 2 coats on each side. This is coat number 1, and it's going to be really light. You don't have to oversaturate this or overdo it. And that's it. All right, and then I'm going to turn everything over once they're dry. I'm going to do the other side. Now I'm going to hop over to the 3D printed part. Soak these up with a coat or 2. I'm going to go ahead and sand them down. Now moving on to the little back handles of the arrow. Same concept. Got a little jig set up so I can paint both sides at the same time. Just going in and painting those. Just to show you guys the difference between a sanded piece and an unsanded piece. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Alright, see, this is nice and smooth, and this still has the striations. I mean, it's up to you. You can definitely paint this like this, but it would have a much nicer finish if you take the time to sand the piece. And shoot, you could even just sand one nice and perfect and then cast it afterwards. Up to you. Alright, so just more sanding. I'm going to show you guys the back detail of the arrow. Focus a little bit. So you can see how this is very like ridgy, and this is a lot smoother. Again, just sanding away at it. So now that my parts are all nice and sanded, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with some Rust-Oleum hammered steel. It's kind of like a grayish hammered color. You can do silver, you can do whatever color you like. Alright, so now to paint our feathers. Now, you can do this with an airbrush, you can do it with a brush, traditional brush. So I have like, it's, I don't know what I would call this, kind of like an eggshell that I'm going to use as the base. So I'm going to paint the whole thing this color to give it a light undertone. And I don't have to be very well painted on. I just want to kind of get into the creases a little bit, get the details. And obviously I'm going to do this on both sides, so I'm just going to speed through this base layer and then we'll go into the different colors. At the end, I'm probably going to end off sanding this a little bit just so I make good contact with the contact cement when I put it on. But if you're using hot glue, you don't have to worry about this aspect of the process. You can just paint the whole thing because the hot glue will grab onto whatever. All right. Now that I've got a little bit of that base coat down, I'm gonna grab a little bit of this caramel colored paint. Just kind of, I'm gonna dry brush the feathers a little bit, And I'm gonna bring this about halfway up. Right? So with this, I'm really just trying to add kind of like a bit of a gradient effect, but really just overlaying the darker color on top of the lighter one to get a more feathery look to things. So you don't want to have too much paint on your brush when you do this. Just kind of, and go with the direction of the strokes, or the veins of the feather per se. And make sure you come back in on the sides and hit that up as well. Great. And now I'm going to go back into my lighter color, mix that up a little bit, and then dry brush back in. This time I'm kind of skipping areas, purposely skipping a few areas just so I get like a light streak here, a dark streak there, here streak, there streak, everywhere streak. And then I'm just gonna keep doing that until I'm satisfied with the way that it looks. All right. So this is kind of what I'm looking for with this. You see, I kind of see the lighter stuff and the darker stuff. Bringing it up halfway, but the rest of this is going to be 3 different levels of the teal. All right, so the way that we add the teal on this, you kind of use the laser etched parts as markers. So you notice how I brought the paint all the way up to 1, 2, 3, this third marker here, right? That's where my darkest paint ends. So I'm gonna go ahead and mask that off, right? And then I'm gonna start my teal. And at this point, I'm doing the light teal, which is how the colors go is large, medium, small. So from here to about a little bit past this one is the light teal, like that. And then from here to this marker here, the last laser etched one, is like a medium teal. And then this last little bit here is like the darker version of the teal. So we're gonna do that in sections. So I'm gonna put my first piece of masking tape there, and I'm just gonna do everything light teal. And then I'm gonna bring the masking tape up. I'm gonna do everything medium teal, and then I'm gonna bring that up, and I'm gonna do the darker teal. All right, so as you guys can see, I mixed up myself 3 different variations of teal, a really light one, a medium one, and then the base color. And all I did was just mix in a little bit of that eggshell color that I did the base out of earlier at different levels, and then do 3 different little color palettes. So that's it. We have our feather. It was looking nice. And then, okay, so I painted my little 3D printed beads, this caramel color. I've also painted the back end of the arrow. I'm not sure what they call this. It's like the back piece of the arrow that he pulls on. It's kind of like a metallic silver. So for this, it has a couple of different colors on it, and what I'm going to do is grab some masking tape, and I've made this wide enough that it fits the masking tape. So what you want to do is just put it right up at that edge there, right there, and just kind of visually make sure that it's even top and bottom, and then just wrap that around. Wrap that around onto itself, and then press down on all sides. And now you've masked it for the teal. So the top and bottom part of it is going to be painted teal, and then the inside here is going to have like a lighter caramel color, or like an off-white color. So that's pretty much it for the masking. I'm gonna go ahead and paint the teal colors on all of them and just mask all of them and get that done. So as you can see, I took off the tape and it's looking pretty good, and I put a nice line of like a lighter honey color on the inside middle there. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, same color that I was using earlier. I just grab a fine brush and just keep the brush in place but turn the piece itself. That way I stay nice and centered in the groove in the middle, which is where that color goes. Okay. Do this a couple of times. Try to make the band even throughout, and just proceed with this very carefully, and you should get it. And if you mess up by any chance while the paint is still fresh, just wipe it off and just give it another go. Like right there, I messed up a little bit. I was just able to wipe that off real quick and then get right back into it. Lovely. All right, just gonna do that for the rest of them. All right, so to find how your 3 feathers are gonna be separated evenly, here's a quick little trick. All right, so this is the top of your dowel. Okay, you're gonna draw across, basically find the center. Okay, once you have that, you're gonna draw a peace sign. All right, so you use, if you can see the peace sign right here. Okay, and once you have that, you're going to do another split here on the bottom most part of the peace sign. Now what that's going to do is this line, and this line are now the exact same distance from each other, right? And you can trace that on the side of your dowel, and that's where your feathers are going to go. Right, so this is going to go here, that's going to go here, and this here. Right? So that's how you do that for the feathers. All right, so we have the back piece, we have our little arrow bead, we have our feathers, and we even have our arrow blade tip. Just a little surprise for the end of the video. So now we're going to put our, whatever this thing is, the back of the arrow. I really need to find out what this is called. The back of the arrow, the thing that you hold to shoot the arrow, right there. And we're going to start placing our pieces. Right. So I'm gonna do my contact cement. Once again, you can do this with any type of glue you wish. My preference is contact cement. It's clean, it's easy, and it's super efficient at keeping things stuck together. You can also do this with hot glue, if that's what you have available. So I'm basically doing the entire dowel. Oh, well, the entire dowel up to the point where I know the feathers stop. Okay. The other contact side, so inside of my feathers. And if you notice that the black's been revealed from the painting, because I went back and sanded this a little bit to, so I can have contact directly with the foam. So when I put these on, they stick. Okay, one more. All right, now we're in business. Fan these out a little bit, put that down, and I'm gonna bring this right up to the edge of that 3D printed back piece and just glue down straight. And we already have our line, so I know exactly where to put this. Right here. Just start that right back up. And actually it's kind of nice because these two are equal from each other right now, so I can just kind of visually line this up right down the middle and give myself a good. Alright, so we're gonna plop this one there. Alright, push down, make sure everything is glued nice and evenly. Now that these are installed, what you can do is go back in, maybe put a little bit of hot glue on the top of your dowel and make sure this sits properly, or you could leave it loose if you feel like taking it on and off. Alright, and then our little bead, I'm just gonna come down the front here, bring that in, just slide it all the way into place, right there. Alright, now we have our arrow. You can grab your arrowhead, place it right in there, and there you have it, guys. Just got to repeat the process for as many arrows as you bought. The kit comes with 4. You can definitely buy more if you feel like buying it, but the finished prop comes with 3 of these. All right. It's a pretty tedious process, but well worth it. Everything looks really good once everything is said and done. And the cool thing about it, if you buy this guy right here, you can take out your regular tip, insert this guy right here, like so, and he has 2 little switches on the inside, 1 and 2, and there you have it, ancient arrow ready for action. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you purchased the kit online on my Etsy store, I appreciate the support. If you just happened to come across this because you wanted to make some link arrows, I hope the tutorial was helpful to you. Cheers. See you guys on the next one.